Well, hey garden friends, it's Destry. Welcome back to my Oregon yard, or welcome if you're new. Today I'm doing kind of a second part of a video I did about different things about 2025. But today the focus is going to be the seed starting calendar and how I go about planning out when I plant my seeds for my cut flowers. This will be my third season growing cut flowers and my second season selling cut flowers as well. So I'm just going to show you what works for me, and hopefully it can give you some inspiration and some ideas for your own yard. So for 2025, I have a lot of goals for my yard and for my garden. I would like to do things with the cut flower stand and, expand that and maybe offer some wrapped market bouquets. Also, I'll be growing some new plants and varieties. So I'm really excited for different ideas that I have this year. I have also an idea for a color palette I'm going to be leaning into. So yeah, there's lots to look forward to in the garden this year. That's important when you're wanting to grow cut flowers or any kind of garden is, seed starting and figuring out when to start seeds for your area, for your growing zone, and what works well for your seed starting, whether you do it inside under grow lights, which is usually what I do, or whether you do it in a greenhouse or whatever your situation is, or maybe just a sunny window. Everyone does it differently, and so I have my method of what works for me for figuring out when to sow the different seeds. And every year I'm learning and getting more knowledge of how to do this. But let me go ahead and share with you the system that works for me. So I've just got my calendar here. I do a wall calendar. This year I picked out one that has like bouquets on it. It's really pretty. It was just from Amazon. And then this is kind of a nod to my color palette this year, which is going to be kind of purples and pinks. I'm like lavenders and things like that. So not exclusively, but I grabbed some fun pins. And then you want to have your seed packets. So basically you want to look at the back of your packet and see if it tells you when to sow that seed. Now, most seed packets will. If it doesn't, you can definitely do your own research and just look it up. But this one, talks about, sometimes they'll say things like direct seed is recommended. If it says that, sometimes I will do the winter sowing method, which is where you do like milk jugs. And so I'll be doing that soon as well. So that's one tip I have for you. But anyway, go ahead and find on here what it says. So it'll say like 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and so forth and so on. So what I do is I go through all the seed packets first and kind of see what is going to need the most time to germinate and what I can sow a little bit later in my season and in my zone. And once I've done that step, I can go ahead and write them down on sticky notes. Now, I do like to use different color-coded sticky notes for the different companies that I use for seed starting, but whether you do that is up to you. I would suggest putting the sticky side on one side, and then you can cut this in half or use smaller pieces of sticky pad if you have them. And then you can write the names. So I just do like 6 to 8, and then I'll put whatever it is. And then I just cut the sticky notes apart, or like I said, you can use a smaller tablet. And then I start to kind of put together the puzzle that is my calendar. So the first thing you want to do is figure out when your last frost date is traditionally in your area or your zone. And for me, mine is usually right at the end of April or the beginning of May. So what I want to do is go back from that last frost date, and I'm going to count backwards, and I'm going to be starting at 1, and I'm just going to go through each week and just number each week going backwards in time. And I go back all through March. You can see I'll be sowing seeds, and then even into early February I have some that I'll be sowing. So that way I can just really see when that needs to go. So for instance, I go back about 12 weeks backwards in time from that frost date. And then what I'll do is I'll just take the different sticky notes, and again, I like this method because if something happens and I don't get to sowing this particular time, or I do something different, I can just move the sticky notes around as I need to. If something comes up or something doesn't germinate and I have to replant, that's happened before. So for instance, in week 8, I'll be sowing a lot of snapdragons, and I'll probably also succession sow those, so I can move those sticky notes down 2 weeks once I'm done with that sowing to remind me to sow those again. I can do the same thing with zinnias, and that way I just get more, more flowers throughout the season. And then some of my later things to sow are things like bachelor's button, again, second sowing of some zinnias, and even some nasturtium is kind of at the end of the season for me. And by this time, hopefully the bulbs will start to be coming out of the ground too, so I will have those to start my kind of growing season and cutting season with. And then, hopefully some of these will start to be ready to plant outdoors. So if you're interested to see what exact seeds I'm growing this year, I will link a video for you, a couple videos for you. I also have a seed starting playlist, which has some videos I did last year on this topic. And I'll be trying to make, again, some new ones this year for you as well. Anyway, there's lots of different ways to do seed starting and do calendars and things like that. So I hope checking out my way was helpful to you. The next thing I'm going to start working on is my seed storage box. So make sure to stick around for that. One thing that I love to do is collect seeds from my yard. And so I have a lot of envelopes in here that are seeds that I've gathered. So I'll be going through all of that and getting those organized in a different video. So thanks again for hanging out with me today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you need me, I'll be doing some gardening. I'll see you next time. Bye.